everybody. Again, thank you for taking some time. Again, Joe Macedo with Compliancy Group. Just a little bit of topics we'll be discussing today and some housekeeping items really quick. If you have a question, please let us know. If we don't get to it today, we'll definitely be able to answer you after the webinar. So I'm going to go into explaining why we, meaning Compliancy Group and On Time Tech, are in a position to explain what you should or should not be doing in regards to HIPAA. I will explain what the law really requires because there are a lot of misunderstandings out in the marketplace today. We do see lots of people across the country just doing bits and pieces of compliance, similar to, Lance had mentioned, people are out of compliance. You're not alone. If that's you, people want to do it correctly. We just find that they necessarily just don't have that great of information. We all know that the government's not great at putting out specific information for you to follow for your specific practice. So I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about the areas we see the misunderstandings and how HIPAA experts can help you. I'm also going to talk about how the enforcement trends are way up and why you and your business associates should be concerned. Last, I'll explain how a system works and how we can help you with every aspect of HIPAA. We are very good at it. Often you will hear us say our tagline is, "We simplify compliance so you can focus on your business." Often people refer to us as QuickBooks, but for compliance. Okay, so as we get started here today, again, it just makes a little sense. Like Lance mentioned, we partner with many organizations throughout the country. And a little bit of background of Compliancy Group is we started in 2005 as large-scale HIPAA auditors. So what that means is we were compliancy experts in the country. We did places, let's say Los Angeles, California. We did all 9 hospitals and we did 1,200 clinics just in the county. We very quickly realized what was needed in the market was a tool that the end user could use to manage their own compliance. Often we'd go back, let's say, to year 2 of the engagement, or maybe a 6-month stint for the second engagement with that client. And these were large hospitals with compliance officers. We quickly realized that they were having trouble articulating to us what they had done from the previous session. So we'd give them some homework to do, some to-do tasks for their HIPAA compliance to move forward with their compliance. And they weren't really able to articulate this to us very well. We thought that there wasn't a seamless platform that they could use. So we thought that this was very interesting. And here is groups that have, compliance officers. You would think that they would be much more equipped to do so. So we thought, obviously, if this was an issue in the hospital level, where does a small and mid-sized practices fall? So we made and developed a web tool called the Guard. It's a web-based solution designed for every single employee of your organization to use, and it truly matches all of HIPAA compliance. We truly help you achieve, illustrate, and maintain full HIPAA compliance. One big thing about us is not one client has ever failed an audit using our platform. So if you use it correctly, you could really use this as your insurance policy to say, if the government comes in, you follow what we tell you, you're not going to fail your audit. All right, that's probably why most of you are here. You need a new mechanism to obviously, keep up with your HIPAA compliance, and I think you'll find this a very simple platform to use. Another good thing about us is we've been over, the one thing, 250 audits, not one client has ever failed. 100% of our clients also would refer us to a friend. So we have well over 5,000 clients nationwide, and by no means are we perfect, but we really strive to be that customer-centric, hold-your-hand type organization. Always do the right thing. So you can be confident that working with us, you'd be, we're going to do the right thing, and we always treat our partners and our customers with the utmost respect. Obviously, we have a pretty wide reach throughout the country. We do a lot of educational series as well. We're in all 50 states, even in Puerto Rico. Interesting note is Puerto Rico received their first fine this year, was levied against Puerto Rico. So obviously they have to follow the same rules as well. Okay, so why you guys are probably on this call is let's dig into HIPAA a little bit. All right, I'm not going to bore you guys with a really long training here, but I want to show you some of the big misunderstandings we see in the market. First of all, HIPAA is a federal law, not an option, not a program. It's a federal law. So not satisfying it is the same as not having a medical license. If you get caught and you cannot prove your compliance, you will get a fine. So let me explain to you what HIPAA really is and what the elements are that really make an effective compliance program. Lance, if you want to jump in, talk a little bit about security, and then I can. Yep, go ahead.
So I do want to jump in at this point and let everybody know that there is to be HIPAA compliant, it's not just being, following the policies and procedures. It's not just having HIPAA compliant email or a HIPAA compliant file and a file sharing system. And I think that's a lot of misunderstanding. People buy, well, I've got HIPAA compliant email, so I'm HIPAA compliant. Those are all parts and pieces to the whole pie. So with the security piece on the right, you need to have penetration testing, network security needs to be up to date. You need to move from gross negligence to due diligence. So also, it should be made to note that in phase 2, which came out last year with HIPAA compliance, that they're stressing the point now that every vendor that touches health information must be HIPAA compliant. So if you're a doctor's office or insurance and you have direct access to the medical information, all of your vendors must be HIPAA compliant. So especially your IT company and people like that, they must be HIPAA compliant. If your vendors are not HIPAA compliant, that makes you not HIPAA compliant. So that's on the security side. And then on the compliance side, you've got to have your policies, your procedures, your trainings, your BA agreements. Everything has to be done on that side. So what the way HIPAA works is they're assuming that a breach may happen, and most likely will. And if it does happen, if something does happen, you've got compliance there that is there before this breach happens, and it sets what's going to happen after. And if you have the compliance piece in place, no matter what happens on the security side, you're going to be fine. You will not get additional fines. So these two work together to give you your complete total HIPAA compliance. Because if any of these are not working, you're going to get a fine on the left. You're going to create more risk. People are going to find out about it, and you're going to ruin your reputation.
Right, and that's a great point, Lance. And obviously, for those on the call, the whole point of this, like we just said, is your security on the right is really mitigating the risk of a breach, right? So all the safety stuff that On-Time Tech can give you, it's part of an insurance plan, part of a cybersecurity program. You're mitigating the risk of a breach actually happening. But it's important to know that if a breach does happen, which more than likely we all know in technology things happen, right? So if you're dealing with PHI, it is at some point you're going to have a breach. It's just that simple. But obviously, the more safeguards you can put in place to protect that breach, and using HIPAA compliant type things, that's going to help you prevent the breach. In the end, you have to show your back end compliance program to the government, because you will never get fined on anything on the security side. You will get fined for not having an effective compliance program. So we'll go into that, and we'll talk more about what that actually means to have an effective compliance program. Okay, so as we move on, again, a little training on HIPAA, not to bore you guys to death, but this is a really strong point here. One of the points I want to make, HIPAA is really 3 rules, right? So you take everything you read on the internet. Obviously, you have to know each law. That's why you pay a company like ours. HIPAA experts will know exactly what the law requires. You can divulge that yourself. But in the end, not only knowing the laws, really what it comes down to is 3 rules. Okay, so HIPAA is really 3 rules. Privacy rule, which really discloses, when you could disclose medical information and when they could do that. So it's training your staff the right way on when they can actually do that type of thing. Security rule, really preventing, like we talked about before, preventing the risk of PHI being exposed. So that's all security internally, as far as maybe network security, is IT network security, in addition to physical security. So locks on file cabinets, things of that nature. And the breach notification rule, this is very important. As of this year, you do have to report all your incidences to HHS. So very important part of the law. But where most people get confused, so there's a whole set of rule standards that go to each rule. Where most people get confused is underneath the security rule. They might be asking their IT company for an IT risk assessment. Maybe they were looking to attest for meaningful use. They were looking to electronify their health records, lock down their system, make their network secure. Therefore, they thought they would be HIPAA compliant. Unfortunately, that is not the case. So if you only have a risk assessment on the technology side, that does not make you HIPAA compliant. What we try to explain to people is if you would have addressed HIPAA as a whole, it would have included your security risk assessment. So there's more to HIPAA than just having your technology locked down and doing a security risk assessment. Even if you're doing it each year, you are not HIPAA compliant. Okay, so Lance touched upon this, part of the phase 2. So omnibus rule. Omnibus rule is a clarification of HIPAA in 2013. Really said 3 things. Your business associates, so those vendors that we had mentioned before, they must be HIPAA compliant too. If they have PHI access to your records, they have access to your records. If they potentially manipulate those records, see those records, have potential access to the records, they must be HIPAA compliant. So that is your MSP, managed service provider, your IT provider. If those of you who don't know what an MSP is, your person who works on your computers, obviously, could mean your consultants have to be HIPAA compliant. Your shredding companies who deal with documents, they must be HIPAA compliant. It also goes down to as far as your accountants and your lawyers. So this is a part of the rule, and it actually came into effect in 2013. Not only do they have to be HIPAA compliant, you must also be getting a business associate agreement associated with each one of your vendors, and you must conduct due diligence on them. This must be happening each year with part of your HIPAA program. If you're not doing this each year, you're not in HIPAA compliance. And this is a big reason why a lot of the fines are coming the last few years. The government's really concentrating on that omnibus rule and really are targeting business associate agreements and making sure people are doing the right thing. So in the end, if you take one thing away from this call, I can tell you the enforcement is way up on the omnibus rule. Make sure you have good, clean business associate agreements. Here at HIPAA Experts, we do see about a 60% failure rate on business associate agreements. So even though you have something signed, maybe potentially signed with your business associate, you might not be as compliant as you think. So make sure that it's saying the right things. Okay, so here's one of a typical example we see in the market. If you take a look at this, this is exactly like this Alaskan nonprofit last year. They got fined $150,000 for this exact reason. This is probably where most people are at that are on the call today. I don't want to take any guesses, but just talking to people on a daily basis, I could probably guess that. You have a security risk assessment. You also have policies, procedures, and training. Maybe even go as far as training your staff on HIPAA. Unfortunately, if you are like that Alaskan nonprofit, you are not HIPAA compliant. So as you can see, we're trying to show with the question marks is you've done 1/3 of one rule. So we looked at that slide before with the security rule. There was 3 audits just underneath that rule. Right now, you only did security. So the government's saying, where are the other 2 audits? There's also 3 other audits that you must be doing on an annual basis, which they didn't do. They also had policies, procedures, and training, which was good, but they had purchased them from a trade organization. Now, how many of you on the call maybe have purchased this stuff or had your lawyer put together these policies, procedures, and training? How many times have you reviewed them since the last time they put them together? All right, so the government says there's a series of things you have to be doing on an ongoing basis, and like this Alaskan nonprofit, the policies and procedure part, they didn't customize that to their own organization. So that's why they got into a lot of trouble, even though they had it. But basically, you see with the question marks, there's a series of things you have to be doing on an ongoing basis that they were even missing, which we're going to go over today, and I'll show you exactly what those things that they were missing were and how you can make sure that you have an effective compliance program. Just a little side note is you'll see there, 24 million, should be 24+ million dollars in fines were levied in 2016. That is the most fines the government has ever levied in HIPAA. That is obviously the first 19 years of HIPAA. So HIPAA's been around since '96. So the first 19 years before 2016 was really about education. The government gave you leeway into trying to figure this thing out. Now it's really dropping the hammer time. They're really coming down, and this is why we're seeing an uptick a lot in small and mid-sized practices really becoming HIPAA compliant because they must be doing the right thing, and the government's really coming down on this. Okay, so Jocelyn Samuels is the OCR director. Back in 2016, she's the one who's really enforced this. She said, you know, you had time to learn about this. Now it's about enforcement. The government is cracking down because they're sort of upset about the cybersecurity things that's happening, and it goes hand in hand with HIPAA compliance. Okay, since PHI is the most sought after thing right now on the black market, you could say that, you know, it used to be credit cards, right? But now you can cancel your credit card at any point. Now it's medical information. So they want to really protect the medical information. They got to ensure that entities are doing the right thing to protect it. So they're really dropping the hammer, and you could see it in enforcement. And one quick note I just want to mention, I don't know if we have it here, but I want to mention the wall of shame. So if you do fail your audit, you end up on the wall of shame, Health and Human Services website. You can look it up. You will end up on the wall of shame and your name does not go away. So what I tell people all the time is it may not affect you now, but I guarantee you over the years to come, it's going to affect your patient conversion. You end up on that wall of shame, you don't come down. So people Google your name, they're going to see you had a HIPAA breach. They're not going to go to your practice, you're going to lose patients. Okay, so now you can see on the screen the 7 fundamental elements of an effective compliance program. Okay, so we talked before how the government doesn't put out specifically great information on teaching you how to become HIPAA compliant. In the end, it's up to you to find all the rules and make sure you have all the policies and procedures in accordance with the law and you're meeting those standards. Obviously, that's where we'll come in. You don't have to pay somebody, you don't have to have somebody else do that. We'll do that for you. But in the end, this is what they look for. So if you were doing anything on your own, anything at all, these are the 7 things you must be doing on your own. This is where the government comes in. They'll audit you against these things. Okay, so what you see here is internal stuff that must be happening on a yearly basis. So it doesn't really talk about a lot about the security related things like Lance had mentioned before. You can have the greatest and greatest, latest patching, latest software and applications that are HIPAA compliant. That has nothing to do with your compliance program on the back end. Okay, so that's part of a program, but in the end, you need to be doing these 7 steps on an annual basis. It's really what our program is based on and how we develop the guard. So let me tell you how simple it really is. So obviously, we are a little different. You guys are really going to like this because we're not just a tool that says, okay, use this tool and good luck. Okay, we really want to simplify your business. We mean that. So you can concentrate on your business. Let us concentrate on compliance. We're going to assign a HIPAA coach to you. You're going to assign a compliance officer at your organization. They're going to work with our HIPAA coach. They don't have to be an expert. They don't have to know nothing about HIPAA. All right, you just have to make sure that they have time to do this. They're going to align with our HIPAA coach. Our HIPAA coach, I'm going to show you what they do, but in the end, remember, they're not going to let them go until they fully achieve compliance. How that works is about a series of 5 to 8 go-to meetings, about 30 minutes a meeting, about 1 to 2 hours of prep work in between each meeting. So you are looking at about 20 to 30 hours of work over 2 to 3 months. However, if you want to go faster, we'll go faster. You want to go slower, we go slower. Really go at your pace. But in the end, you need to spend some time to make an effective compliance program. But remember, we're here holding your hand. We're not letting you go. You can contact us at any time. After we help you achieve compliance, we're going to help you illustrate that. So your seal of compliance, I'll show you what that looks like, and all the reports the government needs in case of an audit. So obviously that's important. They come in, you want to be able to provide what they're going to be looking for. We know exactly what they're looking for, and we're going to provide you a nice clean report on your HIPAA compliance program. Maintaining compliance, not only are you building the program with the HIPAA coach is also teaching you how to use this very simple tool. Because once you implement your plan correctly, the system is going to administer it, and it's going to let you know when you need to do something. So it will physically send alerts to you when you actually have to do something. So once you've set up, let the system take over. It will alert you when something is needed. Okay, so what I'm about to go through is pretty important. If you're not doing these today, it's something that we should probably talk about because any one of these things that you're missing is a potential gap, obviously. And we talked before about the government coming in. Just because, let's say you had a lost laptop and that caused PHI to be stolen, right? And that's the breach. That's why the government landed at your front door. They could care less about your laptop. They're going to go right to this, and they want to make sure you're doing all these things effectively. If you have a hole in it, that's where they'll poke the hole, and that's where you'll get a fine. Okay, so there's 6 major audits according to government. We will take you through all 6 audits. For you, it's very simple. It's 6 audits filled with questions. Questions on how you run your business, how you operate, how you protect your network, that type of thing. Once we get the answers to your questions, the system automatically identifies what the gaps are, and you and the coach build remediation plans for those gaps. This is where we see about 15-20% is going to be technology-related things. Now, it could be bigger, it could be smaller. In the end, that's where On-Time Tech will come in. On-Time Tech will come in and help you with those remediation physical items. Remember, we're the guard, compliancy group, but combined, you have a full solution. They're going to help you with that. We're going to continue on. So the rest of the gaps that you have are probably going to be soft side compliance. We'll help build your policies, procedures, and training docs. You don't have to have anything at all to start. You're more than welcome to bring over whatever compliance that you have or had in the past. The system obviously will review that with the coach, but the system can administer those documents moving forward. But in the end, we want to review that with you to make sure it's effective. Remember, it's got to be tailored to your organization. If it's not, you are not in compliance. So we'll help you with that. After we build these policies, procedures, and training documents, the Guard also comes with document management and document version control. You're not going to use this for a full-fledged document management system, but you might want to upload some different things. So you might have a cybersecurity best practice. You might have a code of conduct manual. You want your employees to train on as well. Sort of goes hand in hand with HIPAA, right? A lot of the same overlapping stuff. So they have to train on the HIPAA stuff every year. So you might as well load that stuff in and have your employees get trained on that as well. The system administers your documents and will send alerts to your employees who each get a login to the Guard, and they really have to attest for training each year. So don't get scared. I think your employees will spend about 1 to 2 hours total for the whole year inside the Guard. It's really a place for them to attest for their training. So each year they have to attest. And it's a place for them to not only look up all the important documents that you want them to have access to, one centralized place. Again, it's a web-based tool, nothing on their network, on your network. So it's all out in the cloud. So you could just have your employees log in, and there's no reason they shouldn't know what your code of conduct manual is or what the HIPAA policy is because they're being trained on it. The next thing I want to talk about, actually, I want to go back one thing. Document version control. That's an important part of the law. So built into the documents inside the Guard is document version control. The government wants to see every single time you touch a document. So that's incorporated into the Guard. Again, the omnibus rule, this business associate management, all right, very big part of the rule. So your business associates, like On-Time Tech, who knows that they need to be HIPAA compliant, organizations like that, who's your IT vendor, like we talked about before, or it could be a lawyer, accountant, yes, they need to be HIPAA compliant. We provide everything you need for that, okay? We will vet out your vendors with you, okay? So we give you the business associate agreement to use. We help conduct due diligence on those vendors each year. We have a 24-point questionnaire that goes out to those vendors, and when it comes back to us, we'll verify with you if that's an appropriate vendor for you to use or not. So in the end, we help you vet out all your vendors. That's where most of the fines are coming from, very important part of the law. The Guard also provides incident management and remediation. It's a place that your employees can go to report a HIPAA breach. Let's say they see Sally or Johnny at the front desk is doing something silly. They didn't think those records should be laying out on the desk. They could send a quick note through the Guard, through the incident platform. It'll go right to your compliance officer. It will not go to the government, so don't worry about that. We want them to report internally. Also, a part of the law says that you must have a platform for your employees to reach out anonymously to you to let you know of a breach. So we provide that, and this also keeps them from going to the government, okay? So I can't stress that enough. People that go to the government, if they report a breach and then the government comes to audit you, if you fail the breach, your employee or whoever reported you will get a settlement of the fine. So just to let you know that. So it's very important that you have an outlet for them to say that something's going on. In the end, that'll go to the compliance officer. The compliance officer will then call our coach and we'll tell you how to remediate that. There's a certain way to be documenting all of this stuff. You have to be doing it in a proper way, and we make sure that you are doing that. As we move away from that, that's obviously, if you look on the left, that's our seal of compliance. That's actually what will go on your website or physical seals in your, let's say, your medical practice. You want to show people that you're doing the right thing regarding HIPAA. So obviously no certification in the market regarding HIPAA according to the federal government, but we have a nice seal of compliance that really illustrates that you're doing the right thing. It's a snippet of code, goes on your website, people can click it, it'll go back to us, we'll verify for you that you are HIPAA compliant. In addition to your coach, so not only do you have the coach, you have On-Time Tech to help you, you have us to help you. In addition to that, if you cannot get your coach or On-Time Tech on the phone, we will give you obviously free support. So anytime you want to call us, we're bi-coastal, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. In addition to the other services you're getting, you can reach a hot live body who knows HIPAA, okay? So your coach might be, the only reason we do this, you could reach out to your coach at any point. You can also reach out to On-Time Tech at any point. But in addition to that, if you really need an answer, you're hard pressed for a HIPAA answer, Your coach might be on with some other customer. Just call our hotline. We have HIPAA coaches standing by that can help. And in the end, it's everything you need, right? So we provide, I think what really sets us apart and is our coaching. It really does. And I know it's the first line item on there, but really holding your hand through the whole process. HIPAA Experts is really about doing the right thing, right? We're really here to help, and we really have a complete solution. And if you use our solution, I guarantee you're not going to fail. It has everything you need to be HIPAA compliant. There's nothing you need to go get. Working with OnSign Tech and Compliance Group is really every single thing you need. As far as pricing, all right, so you guys are probably wondering what's going on. How much does this cost? How much is it going to cost me? It sounds great, but how much does it cost? So we're going to go by location. If you look on the left, if you have a single location practice, you're $2,450 for the year. That's one location. Okay, if you have multiple locations, your main site is going to be $3,450 for the year, and your additional sites are $700 per year. Okay, so if you have multiple locations, you can see it on the right. Single location is on the left. Obviously, it's a very special offer today. You get $300 off your price if you order by March 16th. So we think that it's already a very fair offer. I'm going to pass this back over to Lance to finish up, but in the end, I encourage you, look in the market, find some tools, because in the end, you're going to find tools in the market that address bits and pieces of compliance. In the end, you have a very full solution here. You can concentrate on your business and let us handle HIPAA. So with that, I'll pass it back over to Lance, and thank you guys very much for allowing me to speak today.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. I really do appreciate that. That was very clear and concise. You know, I've seen a lot of companies that think they're HIPAA compliant and they're not, or they think that their vendors are HIPAA compliant and they're not. And if you are a vendor for a doctor's office, and if you get, if something happens, let's say you had a HIPAA violation and you're a vendor for doctors, all of your clients are going to be then go under they're going to get a HIPAA audit. So every single one of your clients will get HIPAA audited. So I can tell you right now, that is not going to make your clients very happy. You're probably going to lose a lot of business. They have new people in now at HIPAA. HIPAA has teeth now. They are not shying away. They have a third party. They've hired a third party auditors now. It is a very serious business. And I hope you guys do understand that we are really here to help you out. And I do appreciate it. So please feel free to call us, go to our website. You can email me at lance@HIPAAexperts.com. And we look forward to talking with you. Thank you so much.